Long-term planning like superannuation and retirement was never, ever discussed. There's so many other things to be thinking of, and it is a full-time job having cystic fibrosis, so planning for the future and superannuation were well down the list. So there's a pie chart of importance. The physio wants you to do, 50% of the time physio. The nutrition want you to focus on nutrition 80% of the time. So there's not enough room within that circular pie chart to fit everything in. So that was an easy one to push off to the side because I didn't necessarily think it was going to be a problem. And now I'm in my 40s. I'm like, oh, look, I could actually get to the age of retirement and need to have some sort of a security fund. I'm Jade Mitchell. I have cystic fibrosis. I'm 47 years old. I grew up in Tasmania, moved to Melbourne, and have stayed put in Melbourne. It takes, with the only 15-minute walk probably to the Alfred from here. We looked at places further out, and this is an amazing apartment that we spent ages to try and find to be so close, mostly to the Alfred, because after the transplant and after the coma, knowing how easy it is. I used to literally be on Commercial Road at number 20 and they were 55, so it was good. Being told you've got this life-limiting illness definitely changes the focus of what's important to be, for me, friends, experiences, connections to people, spending a lot of fun times with my friends, family. That's been really important to me. I like art, being creative, exercise, being active, and enjoying my days was the main focus, definitely. Some of the biggest challenges I've faced living with CF is probably just the constant hospital admissions. Losing friends, losing a brother to cystic fibrosis is also hard. All the constant medications, physiotherapy that you have to have with CF has become a part of life. You don't really feel like that's necessarily hard at the time, but since I've had a double lung transplant, I realised that that is a huge chunk of your life. So since transplant, I don't have to do airway clearance things. I am just able to go to the pool and swim and go to the gym and do those sorts of things. I've got that plastic tub with the date, like the general. And then out in the hallway, box of goodies. This is the new CF one that relates to living longer with CF if you haven't had a transplant. Open it up. 2 in the morning, 1 at night. Done. I think there's a lot of people with CF who are living longer that have got a lot of traumas that stemming from the hospital admissions and everything they've had to go through as a child. My parents thankfully recognise there's probably a mental toll. I had a child psychologist visit me when I was in hospital each time. I didn't realise that it was a child psychologist. And I said to Mum much later in life, I was like, I remember Patrick used to come in and ask me all these questions, and they're always the same questions like, how are you feeling and has anybody upset you and how would you deal with that? And he was doing his checklist as to whether or not I was dealing with the situation I was in. Mum and Dad always said that if our self-esteem was intact, then you're able to deal with a lot more. You're dealing with adult relationships all the time. There's an active conversation about that, but I do think that was lacking, and I've spoken with friends also with CF and seen other people in hospital that wouldn't have had those coping skills sort of taught to them. I haven't ever really put a pinpoint on that I would be dying of cystic fibrosis and that I would be in hospital taking my last breaths, I guess. We obviously get told, oh, you might die young, and that there's a shorter life expectancy. But over the years, as you see things come out like the Pulmozyme, oh, that will give you longer, or then now the modulators, oh, that'll give you longer, or this will give you longer. You never know how it's going to be. One time I remember looking at someone more elderly and going, oh, look how many wrinkles they have on their face. Oh, well, they'll never have to have that. Oh, that's good. But I would have only been probably 10. The first major thing that I remember was Pulmozyme, and it thinned out the secretions in the lungs so that you could clear it out more easily. And the inhaled tobramycin, which is an antibiotic, and now modulators, which are a big game changer for a huge percentage of the CF population, but not for a small number of people. I wasn't able to try the modulators, even though I asked about them before my transplant. They were known, and my CF doctor said, we know they work. We know there are 10 drugs out there that actually work, but whether or not they will be available for you within the time frame that you might have, I don't think that's the case, and it would be wise to go and talk to the transplant team as well. And didn't really think I was ready to have a transplant. I was also quite unwell for long periods, and it was unusual for me to be in hospital for a month at a time, home for only a few weeks, and then back doing antibiotics for another month. There was a discussion for a good year before I actually went to the transplant clinic and met the transplant team, and then moved across to them. And for a good period there, I saw both at the same time. But then after transplant, it's a bit of a shock because you've got all these new things to deal with, but then you do not see the CF team at all. I've only just started seeing them again now as a result of Trikafta becoming available to lung transplant people. So 7 years after my transplant, being able to try the Trikafta modulator for my genotype, it's definitely an amazing leap forward. Like, there are people who have gone from 30-40% lung function to 90% lung function, which is just incredible. I was low 20 lung function, I think, when I was on the transplant list. So to think that I wouldn't have needed a transplant and wouldn't have had to have all of that rehab and all of that stuff and a whole change of my whole life by just taking 3 tablets a day is insane. After the transplant, I then had a virus which put me in a coma for 3.5 weeks. Went into straight menopause. I was 40 at the time. I guess that contributes to having more muscle fatigue and hip pains and tendon problems, which go hand in hand with the symptoms that you get with transplants. Oh, actually, it was after the coma. After the coma, they wheeled me into the courtyard for the first bit of light I'd seen in like a month, and they let Smithy come in. So Dave took him to get washed, and he got up on the bed and he was very still. This one wouldn't do it, although he's proving me wrong now. You're being very good. A lot of people after transplant with CF do get the high sugar readings, but some people have that resolve. It didn't resolve for me, so now I'm on insulin, which is great, but also the monitors that read the sugar level back to your phone are $120 over the counter with no prescription. You can buy them over the counter, but with a subsidy, I think they dropped down to about $30. So I have been paying for it. CF Together are rallying at the moment to try and get those monitors, because you do get them up until 20, and then apparently CF-related diabetes disappears and you don't need them anymore. But as we know, that doesn't happen. I guess the biggest hopes about living longer with cystic fibrosis will be experiences and life experiences, to see people, to spend time with people, to go on holidays, to take that trip, to go and visit friends and do those sorts of things. So I don't feel like I need to earn $1 million to be happy doing what I'm doing. I don't think that the happiness comes from the money or anything like that. It comes from being happy and comfortable in yourself. And for parents who have been told to meet me because they'll get some motivation as to what that looks like in adulthood, was to always just do what you want to do and be happy with what you're doing. Just be trailblazers living longer with our other little cohort of CFers.